接下来进行第4场特邀演讲。The next session will be the fourth inviting speech by our honorable speaker. 我们邀请国科会人文及社会科学研究发展处林明仁处长为我们主持。本场次演讲人为 Professor Gabriel Torres。Professor Torres 来自 University of California, Los Angeles。演讲的题目为 Democratic Competence and Civic Education for the New Generation: The Challenge of Civic Education in the U.S. The Oldest Modern Democracy on Earth。Professor Torres 将由预录影片进行演讲，接下来将时间交给主持人。
Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the last keynote of this wonderful two-day conference. Let me first introduce our speaker, then we will play his pre-recorded video. Dr. Carlos Alberto Torres obtained his PhD from Stanford University, and now he's a distinguished professor of education and director of Paulo Freire Institute at UCLA. Paulo Freire Institute is an organization for community-based learning and offers a lot of courses and consultancy for education and learning issues. He was the inaugural holder of the UNESCO UCLA Chair on Global Learning and Global Citizenship Education, past president of the Comparative and International Education Society, and past president of the World Council of Comparative Education Society. Dr. Torres' current research is in political sociology of education, focuses on the cultural organizational context of learning and the tensions resulting from the dialects of the global and local cultural creation. He has authored more than 250 articles and is a really active and productive scholar in the education research community. His topic today is democratic competence and civic education for the new generation. Let's welcome Professor Torres.
I'm Carlos Alberto Torres from the University of California, Los Angeles in Southern California. The topic of this presentation is democratic competence and civic education for the new generation. The challenge of civic education in the US, the oldest modern democracy on earth. This is work that I'm writing with Dr. Gabriel Jones, former student of mine. And we focus on the political polarization in the United States, which has reached historical levels, not only in the form of competing ideologies, but increasingly competing perceived realities, with broadcast and social media platforms creating filter bubbles that reflect, reinforce, and consequently intensify beliefs and enable the viral spread of misinformation. Collectively, these developments have created a crisis of citizenship, including increased disregard for democratic rules and norms, which in turn has created a crisis of democracy and of constitutional patriotism. What I mean by constitutional patriotism are the norms, the values, and more inherently, the procedures of a liberal democratic constitution. These circumstances call for revitalized civic education to help build this sense of constitutional patriotism in the digital age. What a lovely title for a dissertation. Constitutional patriotism in the digital age. While previous projects may offer new perspectives on sustainable development, there are key concepts which are part of Target 4.7, which require further careful analysis and criticism. The first concept is an understanding of education for sustainable development that is founded on the need to defend, protect, and enhance the global commons. Moreover, this model of education is concentrated on moving our education programs from an anthropocentric model into a biocentric model of education and training, endorsing a biocentric ethics. The second concept, which dovetails nicely with the first, is global citizenship education. Both concepts, which are intimately related, may help to advance the defense of the global commons and social justice for the environment. Traditionally, the global commons have been conceived as the high seas, outer space, and the deep forest, areas that are owned by no one, yet contribute to the support and survival of the planet. Yet, in Torres' work, there is another more powerful definition based on three propositions. The first proposition is that our planet is our only home, and we have to protect it through education oriented toward global citizenship and sustainable development. The second proposition is that the global commons is predicated on the idea that global peace is an intangible cultural good of humanity with immaterial value. And the third proposition is that the global commons is based on the need to find ways that people who are all equal can live together democratically in an increasingly diverse and interconnected world, pursuing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The great question about peace and sustainability is how we cultivate a spirit of solidarity across lines of difference. It will be very important to explore how the key arguments by Hartmut Rosa, professor of the University of Vienna in Thuringia, Germany, in his book Resonance, apply to the ways that nature and sustainability are treated in teaching and curriculum. Does teaching about sustainability help us experience nature not only as a scarce resource, but also as a sphere of resonance, which in turn enhances the motivation of individuals to desire nature's preservation and provide a rationale for sustainable practices? What is the framework that animates the teaching of sustainability in teachers' training institutions? Is it related to the traditional trilogy of dimensions or crises of environmental, political, and subjective relationships? Rosa's argument is powerful because the root of this crisis in all three dimensions, and I quote, is that the structurally institutionalized and culturally legitimized strategy of expanding humanity share of the world paradoxically results in a progressive loss of world and thus in the muting of access of resonance. In other words, an instrumental approach to nature, which may be subtly connected to moral and normative commitments, may seem betrayed by daily and sustainable practices. If this is true, then this experience of self-efficacy may result in reifying domination. There is no question that Ross' analysis poses all sorts of conundrums to the practice of sustainability and to the eventual alienation in our relationship with nature. A crucial element for political ecology is the argument on the escalation-oriented expansion of humanity, dominating the late modern subject's relations to the self. Addressing these points has implications for sustainability education, but also global citizenship education. How are these conundrums and contradictions treated in education? How are they understood in the concept of the predominant normative and analytical metrics in teachers training institutions? Global citizenship may help our planet and our people to advance global peace through its contribution to civic engagement in its classical dimensions of knowledge, skill, and values. There is a cosmopolitan imperative, as suggested in the work of Ulrich Beck, an imperative of economic equality, welfare, and cultural diversity that may produce individuals who admire others more for their differences than for their similarities. The protection of global commons via global citizenship education needs to be supplemented by holistic conceptions of sustainability, including its ecological, economic, and social dimensions. More than 4 decades ago, the Our Common Future report of the World Commission on Environment and Development created the basis for a holistic conception of sustainability that involves these 3 dimensions on a global level. While the ecological dimension is concerned with the maintenance of national capital, the economic dimension refers to companies' ability to create value and enhance financial performance. Simultaneously, the social dimension refers to social and cultural justice issues such as inequality and oppression. Despite the important role of the social dimension in the study of sustainability, research on sustainable development has often focused on the economic and environmental dimension. Consequently, a social agenda is often neglected in the field of sustainable research. Sustainability research, as well as international policies for sustainable development, show that teachers are central and vital actors to educate new generations for sustainable development. With this background, teacher training education is considered as a crucial institution necessary to develop public awareness on issues related to social sustainability. However, we should also include other stakeholders, such as progressive social movements and communities, as well as indigenous groups struggling to defend both the planet and the ability of institutions, families, and individuals to seek ways to surpass the Anthropocene. The overall goal is to reach a post-human approach that may defend the environment, allowing the planet to heal itself from human degradation. So let me move now to an idea of developing a new civic culture in the civil sphere to practical model. The civil sphere, vital for the survival and advancement of constitutional democracy, is under attack in several fronts in the United States, including the filter bubble of social media, the viral spread of misinformation, the rise of economic inequality, declining trust in public institutions and science, and the growing sense among some that government is increasingly disengaged with the concerns and interests of its citizens, collectively contributing to a deepening sense of political and social autonomy. This proposal provides several points of intervention to enable young citizens to learn and practice the process of informed democracy, including interactive curricula designed to train students to think critically about social media and digital environments, replicating the scientific progress and their critical examination of sources and argument. The use of game-based activities to help support self-directed and motivated participation of students in exploring civic issues from multiple perspectives, and thus enhance their sense of empathy and understanding through interactive and/or story-based games. Summer institutes that train educators on effective pedagogical praxis in democratic education and train students in the process of deliberative democracy, focusing on policy discussion and development and its impact on diverse constituencies. And finally, inclusion of students in the decision-making process for the government and their own education environment. So what we have decided to do is to incorporate all these dimensions as the technical rationale for a summer institute at UCLA in 2023-2024. And then we will try to move these summer institutes at least one in every main area of the country in the summer. Roughly 5 or 6 summer institutes in the north, northeast, Midwest, South, West. Why? Because we need to create a sense of cohesion that we lack now. The January 6th assault on the US Capitol building, the decline in trust in public institutions, but also in science and scientific reasoning, the destabilization of social and economic relations due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the rapid proliferation of misinformation in recent years collectively demonstrate the clear need for a revitalized sense of citizenship and of the norms, values, and processes of constitutional democracy in the United States. This process starts with education, and accordingly, this project aims to provide several channels for applied active learning at different ages to model, embody, and practice those norms, values, and processes. Civic education has traditionally focused on the teaching of constitutional democracy and affiliation with the nation state. There are 3 categories linked to civic education. First, civic knowledge, which is in the context of constitutional democracy, the knowledge of basic concepts informing the practice of democracy, such as public elections, majority rule, citizenship rights and obligations, constitutional separation of power, and the placement of democracy in a market economy that is used as the basic premises of civil society. Secondly, civic skills, which usually means the intellectual and participatory skills that facilitate citizenship, judgment, and action. And third, civic virtues, usually defined around liberal principles such as self-discipline, compassion, civility, tolerance, and respect. But one could add also empathy, incorporation of diversity, etc. This project aims to restore each of these categories in the misinformation age with activities that revitalize the contemporary practice of citizenship through knowledge of the fundamental concepts and practices that inform constitutional democracy, cultivation of the skills that enable its protection and maintenance, and respect for and commitment to the values and virtue that ensure its survival. The proposed project specifically aimed to support these goals through the items noted below. In conclusion, we'd like to invite the Foundation to contribute to the work that will be done at the UCLA Paulo Freire Institute in the summer of 2023. These summer courses are usually attended by a large number of Taiwanese graduate students, high school teachers, and administrators. As I said before, once this course is formulated and evaluated, we'll try to transfer this course to several universities with whom we will partner in order to disseminate this model even more. The first segment of this 22-day course is based on a project that schools in Arizona have implemented since 2013, educating students in the participatory school budgeting process as both a pedagogical tool and a tool for civic engagement. As a pedagogical tool, students learn democracy by doing. They learn to deliberate, listen to each other, collaborate, find solutions together, and promote the common good. This is very important. Public education is part of the common good and must promote the common good. As a tool for civic engagement, the project contributes to reducing the civic engagement gap, giving students a voice, and nurtures new generation of political actors willing to exercise their agency to improve society through electoral participation, but also through involvement in volunteering activities and in social movements striving for environmental and social justice. At the end of each school participatory budgeting cycle, students vote using the same voting equipment that is utilized in local, state, and federal elections, which helps to demystify the electoral procedure. Moreover, after they cast their vote in the school's participatory budget, eligible students are provided the opportunity to register to vote in a future election. In the last few years, thousands of the students have registered to vote through this process, particularly supporting record voter turnout of Arizona youth, especially Latinx youth, in the 2020 election. A record topic in this course will be the fashioned after the Model UN program to build an enhanced civic engagement within the US. This institute will provide an intensive course on key civic issues, policies, and practices at the local, state, and on national level. Therefore, students will organize into teams to engage in research, dialogue, and deliberation on civic issues. Students will explore, design, and present policy proposals for their own region, areas, localities, and examine them from multiple perspectives. Finally, a third module of this course will be an analysis of civic culture and civic education. In partnership with the UCLA Paulo Freire Institute, founded on 2002 and celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, this summer course will offer university credit courses that explore the theory and practice of constitutional democracy and emphasize applied and action research projects on the practice of deliberative democracy, dialogical democracy, and policy development at the local, state, and on national level for elementary, middle school, and high school administrators and social science teachers. This Institute for Educators will focus on how civics education is taught in California, what improvements are needed for effective civic education, how dialogical citizenship can be taught effectively, and how the norms, values, and processes of constitutional democracy can be incorporated into teaching, research, and training. Particularly emphasis will be placed on digital pedagogy and critical information literacy to help educators support the students in critically navigating social media and other digital environments. Much obliged.
Okay, thank you, Professor Torres, for your interesting speech. Indeed, defend, protect, and enhance the global commons is very important. And Professor Torres ties global citizenship and sustainable development coherently and holistically. He also provides a practical model to practice. If you are interested, you can refer to the page 142 of this little green booklet. And finally, I think he will be very happy if people here can attend his Summer Institute in 2023. But I think because he's not here, so we won't be able to take any questions from the floor or online. So I guess the invited speech for this session will end here, and we will start our next session at 1:50. Thank you very much.
谢谢林处长的主持与 Professor Torres 的演讲。那我们邀请林处长到台前与我们的黄董事长进行合影，谢谢。
我也看这边哦，来，笑给他1、2、3，好，来这一个，他等会比一下，比一个，好，来这样给他1、2、3，好，来再一个来1、2、3，哎，不好意思，稍等一下。OK， 好，再来1、2、3，好，谢谢，
谢谢两位。